What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the RGR Football Channel. My name is Daniel Harms, film analyst here, but today we're talking a little bit about what the Chiefs are going to have to do going forward in the postseason. Maybe not so much against the Steelers, because we know that their defense isn't really well prepared for the weapons that the Chiefs have. They might do a little bit of something different than in the first game, because clearly whatever they did not work. So, yes, the Chiefs play the Steelers on Sunday Night Football this weekend in the wild card game. The first time the Chiefs have played a wild card game under Patrick Mahomes. It's a little daunting having that extra game. I know. I do think that this is going to change the dynamics of how you win Super Bowls. Obviously, taking away that other bye week from the number two seed is going to change how teams get into the postseason and how hopefully how the entire process works with making sure that bye week isn't as valuable as it used to be. Maybe getting a little bit more seed diversity. Obviously, we want the Chiefs to have that number one seed to get the bye week because Andy Reid's always great off a bye. But I think that this is a defining moment for this Kansas City Chiefs team. They will be playing, like I said, the Steelers on Sunday night. That's a game that you never really want to think about. I think every single game in the postseason it can go either way at times, and you really think of it that way. I personally do, because I think that as we've seen football from the times we started watching football to now, we've seen so many different outcomes of football games that it really has changed the way we see things. I know that we've seen so much different diversity with Patrick Mahomes and Alex Smith, and the two different types of players at quarterback, specifically in the last 10 plus years. Just about 10 years, actually, now that they've capped it off almost in the last 10-year period. The way that each team has performed in the playoffs under these two quarterbacks has been relatively up and down. Like, just one guy plays really, really well in the playoffs. The other guy just had moments. And I love Alex Smith, but he was just never able to do that. And this year, what I'm seeing from the Chiefs is they've dealt with adversity, having to deal with a completely new set of defenses that are equipped to try to take away the deep ball, force Patrick Mahomes to be different, to maybe take away some of the best players like Travis Kelce and Tyreek Hill. We got to see a little bit of that down the stretch here in the last three games. I tweeted it out today, actually, not today, yesterday, Monday, about how, yes, I know that there's a caveat to all this with Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce not playing a whole ton of snaps in the last three games, but in the last three games, the two players that have led the Chiefs in receiving yards are Byron Pringle and Mecole Hardman, over 150 yards each from both of these guys. And that's, for me, it says something about the way that Patrick Mahomes has had to adjust. And I know that, like I said, leaving snaps on the field by those star players makes targets go elsewhere. But this whole season, Mahomes had to adjust the way that he typically plays. We don't see the deep ball happen very much. He doesn't get to uncork those things very much anymore. Teams don't want that to happen because the Chiefs' offense is such a quick strike ability to score from wherever they are that they say, no, we want you guys to drive the length of the field. Use multiple players. You don't necessarily always have to make Tyreek Hill be a catch and run guy, not a burn us downfield for a touchdown guy. Get 10 to 15 yards at a time. See if you can beat us that way. Run the ball a little bit more, things like that. On this side, for me, what I'm seeing this last three games is that Mecole Hardman, Byron Pringle, they have issues as players. I think Pringle gives you everything you're looking for in a true type of number two player in terms of what they have on this team. I think that he's the second best receiver they have, all around skill set. I think he has all of that. He does have some issues, I think, reading leverage. I think Patrick Mahomes and him have issues reading leverage together. I believe specifically last game, this weekend against the Broncos, both were reading leverage differently on some of the receivers some of the corners early in the game, and that changed the way that some balls were located, whether it was on Mahomes or Pringle. I have yet to see. I haven't seen the 22. I need to see where they were pre-snap and where they were post-snap to really determine the outcomes of those plays. But either way, there's miscommunication on the board. But he got 8 targets in that game. There's trust building there. There is quite a bit of trust, in my opinion, building there. And with Mecole Hardman receiving 10 targets against the Broncos, that shows you that they really wanted him to be the Tyreek Hill replacement player on that in that game, but they used him a bit differently, much more screens. They did get him over the middle a few times. He had some targets that weren't always just the screen game, but his best attribute is finding a hole and hitting it. And using him on those quick screens and some more jet sweeps and things like that will force teams to play a little bit closer to the offensive line, to the line of scrimmage. And then you can start doing some things differently, like some pump fakes out to him, because he's been burning. He just burned the Broncos on those all day, and he was able to create first down after first down after first down. That's the kind of thing you want to see. And then you can start to run some trick plays off of it, some pump fakes here and some deep shots off of that. That would be something I like to see for them going forward. But the biggest thing that I wanted to talk about for this video is Mahomes altering his play style, because we've seen when Travis Kelce and Tyreek Hill are on the field and they're playing the majority of the snaps, they're getting the majority of those targets, regardless of what happens anywhere else. And obviously trimming down those targets is almost out of the question at times, because they're such playmakers and they do things that no one else on this team can do. But I think to the benefit of the team, it would be a much more useful way to use Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelce, to set up Byron Pringle and Mecole Hardman and the running backs, whoever's going to be out there, because I believe it's going to be a by committee approach, if you will. And using them to set up players like Byron Pringle and Mecole Hardman in space. We've seen multiple times this season where Byron Pringle, he shows it on kick returns, but he's been able to make guys miss. He has explosive short area quickness that a lot of people really take for granted and don't really notice. And you saw it in the Steelers game, specifically the first time around, makes two guys miss and one guy fall over himself because he's able to generate torque with his hips, and he can start and stop quicker than a lot of people think he can. He still has all that. And in the Ravens game earlier this season where he took a catch and just went to the house. He just housed it right around everybody. That speed and acceleration can be used in middle of the field on some dig routes and things like that. I want to see them use him more in that way. The same with Mecole Hardman, just in the sense of getting him the ball in space, and you can generate space with the gravity that Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce bring. You can create space for these players. I'm not so certain that Andy Reid's going to do that, because offense always flows through your best players, and your best players are Travis Kelce, Tyreek Hill, and Mahomes, and those three guys are always almost on the same page. But I think you're seeing some trust develop, maybe out of necessity. Against the Broncos, they force-fed, Mecole Hardman, but they are finding the best ways to use them, I think. Byron Pringle has been a first down generator this year. For example, he's got 53 first downs on the year, I think. Let me just kind of click over here. Look at my stats. 32, excuse me. That's not right. He's got 32 on the year, which would be the most in his career. He's got 50 first downs in his career. That's why I was a little confused. So 32 first downs this year, and he's got, 46 catches? 42 catches. That's going to be, that's a really big conversion factor. You're converting a lot of the time. He actually also leads all Chiefs receivers in yards per reception, over 13 yards per reception this year. The guy right behind him is Darrel, but he hasn't had nearly as many targets or receptions this year. So I really do think that Byron Pringle has been given a short end of the stick on this team, because I think he's a talented player. We know that I think he should get 6 to 7 to 8 targets a game. And the way that this offense is built, it's just not going to work that way all the time. But the times that he's gotten 6, 7 targets this year, he's went over 70 yards every game, and he's caught a touchdown the last time he did, 2 touchdowns last time he did it. So he's also one of the only guys that they really throw contested balls to, and he's only got 7 this year, but he's caught 5 of them. So, I mean, it's an interesting, like I said, it's an interesting dynamic to see this offense change a little bit. I want to see them diversify the targets a little bit. I think that's going to be the best result of the team. It's going to be best for Mahomes and the way that they've changed this offense this year. With Patrick Mahomes, he's had to adjust and adapt more so than he ever has in his career. And I think right now, heading into the playoffs, you're seeing that accumulation of talent pay off for him, because, like I said, the last 3 weeks, Travis Kelce and Tyreek Hill have basically been just kind of there. Kelce's caught some touchdowns, which is what he does. He's very good in the red zone, target kind of guy. But Mahomes has still thrown for nearly 800 yards in the last 3 games with 7 touchdowns and no picks. So that to me demonstrates the ability that there is for this offense if you're going to take a defensive mindset and a defensive players and force them to cover the star players and say, we're not going to let these guys beat us as much as they usually do. The trust is building for the role players, Byron Pringle, Mecole, Hardman, the running backs, to be a bigger part of the offense, the passing offense. And I think that this year specifically, we've seen a whole lot of Demarcus Robinson over the last couple of years, and you're seeing it far less in terms of in real passing situations. Byron Pringle is the guy that has taken that over, and I truly think that that's been one of the biggest things for him this year. He hasn't got nearly as many targets as Mecole Hardman has. Mecole Hardman's had 80 targets this year, which is more than I thought, really. And he's converting them at a pretty good rate. He has 59 catches on the year, and he's got the third most receiving yards on the team. Okay, so that is exactly really the breakdown of what it is. The guys behind Travis Kelce and Mecole Hardman on the team for reception yards. Tyreek Hill and Kelce are Hardman, Pringle, Darrel Williams. That's pretty much it. You have those two guys and then the running backs, which you use a lot in the passing game to varying degrees. That's going to be the biggest way to win these games. Use those three guys. Really, running back room is the third guy. But you know what I mean. Use Byron Pringle. Use Mecole Hardman in the best ways for them. Byron Pringle, use over the middle. Get him on some digs route. You've seen some short area quickness with some whip routes and comebacks and things like that. I like to see more slants given to him. At this point, Josh Gordon needs to not be on the field. I don't think that he contributes anything that anybody else does. If you want a blocker, just put Demarcus Robinson out there, because Gordon's basically ineffective. I just can't get over his mental status right now. He's just not a guy that has it anymore, and I don't think he should be a big part of this playoff run. And if he is, good for him. Granted, prove me wrong. That's fine. But again, back to the original point. The way that this is shaping up for the Chiefs is I think that the Steelers' defense has gotten better over the last few weeks. They've gotten healthier. They're going to have a challenge up front with that front four. They're going to get some pressure. They're definitely going to try to just rush for and make Mahomes beat them by dropping guys into coverage like we've seen all season. The way they can do that is using Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelce to open up things for other players. They're going to get theirs. They always will, because that's how this offense is operated. They're going to get those targets. They're going to get their yards. I do believe you can really benefit from opening things up for other guys and using those quick screens to Mecole Hardman to huge impact, because you can have those guys lined up there and have somebody on the opposite side and run a pump fake, okay, and get someone over the middle right in where those defenders leave, because they want that ball. They know that ball's getting there. They know it's getting there quick, and they have to react. So I'd like to see some of that as well. And again, more of the running backs in the passing game. That slant route, the slant route that they call, basically an angle route from a out wide split where they have the running back motion back in, they snap it, and he just runs like an angle, or a slant route. That's going to become more prominent in the postseason as well. You can really damage teams underneath, especially when you're just you're basically flooding the deep area of the field, and you're taking all those defenders with you, and you have the running back come up. I think Jerick McKinnon is going to be a big factor in the postseason with his pass catching ability, pass blocking ability, and his explosiveness. So I'm very much looking forward to the diversity of this offense, how they can create after the catch with other players that aren't Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelce. I think that's going to be the biggest key to them winning a Super Bowl this year, is getting that production, this same production out of Hardman, Pringle, and the running backs. Those guys, those three groups right there are the key. And I know that you have Hill and Kelce when you need them, but I really do believe the way you win this Super Bowl this year is you get the production, 50 to 60 yards a game out of Mecole Hardman, Byron Pringle, and or the running backs. And I think you're set. You get a touchdown out of them too. I think that's huge. Gives them confidence boost. And that's really what you need from these guys, these younger players. And I know Pringle's approaching more of the older statesman of the wide receiver group. But it's very important. He's 28 years old, so he's even older than Tyreek Hill. He's starting to come into his own a little bit, so I like to see that. And I think at this point in his career, he is what he is, but that's not a bad thing. I think you can use that to his advantage and look to add more firepower to the wide receiver position in the offseason, which I think they will. But in terms of talent, I think that they're okay otherwise. Get as much as you can out of these guys for this postseason run, and the Chiefs will be back where they were last year in the Super Bowl. Now, against the Steelers, I want you guys in the comment section to give me the one player who has the biggest game. Just the one player who you think is going to have the biggest game, the biggest impact on this outcome overall. And that's going to be a lot of fun to watch, you guys. Make sure you tune in tomorrow. I'm going to have a film review for you. Obviously, Thursday, Ryan and Seth will be for the Chief of the North. We're going to have everything all the way down through this game. Make sure you tune in the post game after the Steelers game on Sunday night. It's going to be a lot of fun. You guys have a great day.
Thanks for watching this video from the team at RGR Football. Click these videos to see more and subscribe to RGR Football.